Welcome to FFC Top 3, a show where we, our FFC hosts, count things down from 3 to number 1. Thank you for joining us this week. If you have a suggestion, which some of you I know do, drop it in the normal locations at Focus Fire Chat on Twitter, in our Discord, or even at focusfirechat@gmail.com.
Or in the poll.
Or in the poll, which is also a really cool new feature. Like, I am kind of excited to see that.
I already got some compliments. I got some compliments from it from last weekend. So
I'm excited for it. It's kind of nice.
I know. I'm glad a lot of people were liking that new. I
Survey
think
Monkey?
we moved to Survey Monkey because Straw Poll just was dropping the ball. But it's a lot more. It's a lot easier to. It's a lot easier for me to create them. And then also it's just a lot cleaner because it's all on one poll, so everyone can see exactly what their options are and everything. I like it, but yes,
I do too.
Are you telling me that you had the last straw with straw poll?
Yes,
but
the polls of straw finally were too much.
We've had enough.
Oh my goodness. Well, this week, since Beard is acting a bit like a cartoon character at the moment, we're going to do top 3 cartoon characters. And it is the last one, I think, that I chose before we go on to top 3s that you guys choose, which next week, just as a heads up, next week is top 3 guilty pleasures. A reminder to our listeners, we do try to stay very PG. This is not going to change for the Guilty Pleasures episode. Just FYI. Though, if you are still afraid of your child possibly hearing something that may become scandalous, please be sure to not play it in front of them, like a good parent.
Or just listen to it first.
Yeah, listen. Yeah, that's easier too. It's kind of a weird one.
I love how as soon as that was announced, Green's reaction was, so... Are we keeping the PGA or PG filter? PGA, God, man, that's the type of week it's been. Are we keeping the PG filter? It's like, I'd like to.
It's. I think we can, at least as far as keeping like very adult themes out. But this week's top 3, Beard was gone last week for the top 3 Disney songs, so I think he should go first for this week's top 3 cartoon characters. Beard, you're number 3.
Yep. I'm really glad to be here for this week's chat, guys.
Oh, God.
I am so excited if you are going to do this for each cartoon character that you pull up.
I actually couldn't, or even like come close to be able to do it, unfortunately, for the 3 that I have in mind. But Goofy has got to go on there somewhere. Between some of the movies that were out there and just his character in general, I'm just always blown away by like the way that the character can show like different or how they've kind of portrayed him showing different things or emotions, etc. Because he's not just about all of the yucks and everything all the time.
Do you remember the Goofy movie?
Oh, how could you forget the Goofy movie? It is like I think it's still like in like the top at least 20 like animated films for me at this point. It's only kind of grown with me at this point, which is great. But yeah, like Goofy as a character is a fantastic character, I think, and they've done a lot of very good things with him over the years. But again, it's just the gambit of emotions and things that they've done with him that I think really portrays what they've wanted out of the character, or what they can do with the character. Not even saying, of course, what they did with him in Kingdom Hearts over the years as well. But between Kingdom Hearts, the movies that he's been in, how he started where he was more just like a supporting character, more for like Mickey and the gang and whatnot. But Goofy has always been like one of my favorite ones. Whenever I see him on the screen, I'm always like, yeah, I think I'm gonna dig this, and I usually do. So definitely number 3 has to go to Goofy, I think.
Nice. Goofy. I mean, you can't go wrong with some like the classic characters.
Oh, you bet. Hey, Blue, how about your number 2?
Number 3. Number 3 yet.
Number 3. I'm so Goofy. I just went right to number 2.
My number 3 is actually the original, or not the original, but the 90s animated Batman.
Okay.
It was one of the cartoons that I just remember watching a lot as a kid, and it's always been. He's like that's always kind of for at least for Western comics or cartoons. That's always been kind of one of the hallmarks that I've held up cartoons to is Batman the Animated Series. Which I mean, if you've seen the animated series, it's a pretty. I think it's a pretty strong one.
Mm-hmm.
It treats us more as Beard
and I might have waxed
movies.
poetic about this thing for a while.
Yeah,
it's such a good show.
It is.
I
It
even
is.
like that one.
Yeah, it really actually, it really is. And so yeah, I mean he that particular character in that era, I guess. Though I mean, like even some of the other iterations, like what was it? Is it Batman Beyond that you see the
Batman? That's one of them.
Is that the one with the
say,
super pointed ears, and it's him?
Yeah,
older Batman with the dog.
Well, I'm gonna say that's when Bruce Wayne's much older, etc.
Right.
Yeah,
Batman Beyond was a close second in my mind because I really liked how they allowed the character to grow, and that was one of the like growing up. That was one of the first times I remember seeing a cartoon character actually like because a lot of cartoons they just recycle the story and they a lot like X-Men they do it all the time, and it's like they just never seem to grow. Whereas then you had Batman Beyond all of a sudden, and it was like oh they actually are following like this is actually and there was also like the whole futuristic thing as well, which was really cool. I liked how they allowed DC does do that pretty well from time to time, not all the time, but sometimes they do.
Sometimes.
Well,
animated stuff they do pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I think like the animated series in general for Batman as well, like gave some different portrayals to current versions of their comic book counterparts as well.
Mm-hmm. That's true,
which I think is super important to show how much that show from the 90s really kind of cultivated what we sort of see now. Because I would argue to say that version of Batman is, especially now, more the one that we even see with like the Arkham games. Like they wanted to cultivate that in as much as they could.
Well, they
even, the Joker.
I was about to say, yeah, they even brought Hamill back for the Joker on that.
Well, same with Kevin Conroy as well.
Well, that's true.
Batman,
they did
also like super important.
But yeah, that would be my number 3, Green.
Absolutely,
definitely. My number 3 is more along the lines of what Beard went with, and kind of more the classic character. Big fan of Tom and Jerry, particularly Jerry, because who doesn't love a mischievous mouse?
It wasn't okay. Let's just set the record straight real quick on this, because Jerry was not mischievous. Jerry was a sadist. He was sadistic, is what
Tom
he was.
Was a okay. We're keeping the PG filter, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean,
okay.
right. But I mean,
God, no. It's just I like this type of like. It's the same thing with Roadrunner too. I like the type of play that the two had. And the thing is Tom and Jerry, Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote were never ever like friends at the end of it. But Tom and Jerry, there were moments where they were friends afterwards.
Especially when was it the dog that they always teamed up against?
Oh yes, I can't think of his name, but. There was
one. Yeah, there was one character that they like continuously would team up against, and then immediately go back to they were like they were more like siblings, I think.
Yes, which I enjoyed. I enjoyed Tom and Jerry quite a bit as a kiddo.
I almost want to argue that like a lot of the, granted that style of animation, that style of humor was nothing new, quote unquote, for the industry as time went on. But like the earlier. Cartoon stuff that they did with like Roger Rabbit, bringing that up again real fast, what seemed almost entirely based in just how like Tom and Jerry was as a cartoon.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, good classic stuff. But that's right. We're up to number 2. Is it going to remain classic with you, Beard, or are we going some different direction?
Well, that's a good question there, kiddies. Let me go ahead and tell you about your good old pal Joker here. Because I got to go ahead and follow up with what's going on with Blue as well. Forgive me because I can usually do better impressions than this, but I'm still fighting a sinus infection because doctors and medical care and so on are complete butts in this country, and that's all I'm going to leave it as.
Beard might have an opinion.
Short version is my current medical practitioner does not want to see me until I get a CT scan done. I don't need a CT scan. That is all. That being said, Joker, Mark Hamill's Joker in particular, is going to stay with me till my dying day. If you ever listen to interviews as well with him on the character, one of the biggest things that I will always kind of come back to is that he always sort of said, with the Joker, you can't think about it. You just have to go for it. You just let down every little piece about who you are. He doesn't have like any extra thoughts about him. He doesn't have anything else about him. He just, when he laughs, he laughs. He just lets it out. So I really do appreciate like his take on the Joker as a whole. And I think that he did mounds of work for like how the character can sort of be taken over time. And it's been like the 90s cartoon show had to be more kid friendly. And then we started seeing more, again, going back to like the Arkham games, that portrayal shifting again with how the Arkham games can be taken in a more mature light, taken a little bit heavier, even more seriously than what we had seen. But even then, like Mask of the Phantasm was dark when you started dealing with the Joker. And it was dark when you started having like Crane or Scarecrow and Joker in the same scenes besides. But any time that I can hear Mark Hamill voice him is stupendous. It's great. I always tend to like sit there and just laugh with him in some cases, because in a lot of cases I get it. Because that's the thing that I think, as much as Joker is not meant to be a humanized character, in a lot of rights he isn't, I feel like Mark Hamill brought that humanizing factor to him in a way that you could at least start to sort of understand why he did the things that he did. At least that's my opinion. But I've always just enjoyed his take on the character.
Yeah, I did not. I knew there was a bunch of different voices for Batman.
Yeah.
In my mind, there were not very many voices for Joker, and never have been in my mind, because I didn't know it was Mark Hamill for a real long time.
It surprises people if they don't know it. Like,
right?
Which also speaks to his range too. Yeah, that's what I was about to say. It speaks to his range as an actor that he can do that.
Yes,
incredibly
and
so.
That for me, I think, is the biggest thing, is if a voice actor, or if an actor in general who has such an iconic role can flip on a dime essentially and become something completely different where other people don't recognize him automatically. That's awesome.
Well, and he does too, because if you sit and listen to interviews with him about it as well, it's entirely like this switch that seems to just flip in his head. And it's automatic. Like, he is so ingrained with that character, it's not even funny.
Yeah, he even they even did that with the Flash, I think, the Arrowverse TV show. He basically played a I can't remember what the guy's name. It was like a Riddler type esque character. I think Toymaker. It wasn't Toymaker, but it was something like that. But he basically, like, in an interview, he basically said that he was channeling the Joker for that. And he got like into character. He had the creepy like demeanor, the physical like creepy just like way of holding himself. It was an amazing thing. It was like one of the few parts of that show that I didn't actually cringe at.
Right.
The Trickster, thank you.
There we go. I was searching for it too. It's like, where was it? But
he did an amazing job.
Blue. Number 2 for you.
Number 2 for me is a toss-up between two characters. One which actually does speak, and the other which only speaks in hash marks, and that is Woodstock and Rocky from Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Woodstock.
Woodstock, simply because how can you not like Woodstock? He has some of the best sass ever, and he's also, just kind of he and Rocky are actually very similar in the sense that they are kind of there to counteract the other characters' silliness in a way. Like, even though they are silly in and of themselves, like Woodstock especially has a bit more gravitas as far as like how he how he seems to view the world. He always has
Mhm.
something. He always has something going on that is not trivial and silly. So yeah, I just remember again, going back to childhood. That's just something that I remember watching Rocky and Bullwinkle. I remember watching Snoopy a lot, and Woodstock was always one of those characters that just he always stood out.
It's those underappreciated characters that are
Yeah,
just...
I mean, and the fact was, like, I think also the part about Woodstock that was so interesting to me, even as a kid too, was they never really explained him. Like, he just was there. He was there in the background. He always had something going on, but it was never like, no, this is Woodstock's story. It was always all about the Charlie Brown, the Snoopy-esque stories. But yeah, it was like Woodstock often had things that were used as hooks for the others, but they never actually were like, okay, now I think there were a couple not comic strips, but like episodes where they kind of went into stuff, but it was just, I think that might have been part of my allure, or the allure of Woodstock, as even when I was little, was that kind of, you could kind of create your own story, if you will, with why he was doing what he was doing.
That's super true. There's no segue I can use to get to my number two. I'm trying. I'm sitting here thinking, it's like, yeah, no.
Well, and speaking of characters that don't talk, no, I'm kidding.
Speaking of characters that I don't even know. I don't know. I can't. Yang from Ruby is my number two.
I still need to watch that, actually.
It's it's really well done. I thought it was at least.
Rooster Teeth, right?
Mm-hmm. It's the Rooster Teeth.
Rooster Teeth
pilot.
Also did Genlock. Is Genlock the other one that they did?
I don't think so.
I don't know.
Both of them popped up, I think it was Netflix, and I was like, I should sit down and watch those.
Ruby is actually really fun. You can get hooked into it. The first couple of episodes are, if you watched Red versus Blue, you had those first few episodes that were definitely the writers and the guys in general getting used to figuring out what the frick they're doing. Ruby kind of has that, and more so the voice actors are trying to figure out their characters and figuring out the acting thing in general and fitting into the role. Mm-hmm. So some of the things were a little weirdly over the top. Yeah, I mean, the first season is supposed to be very innocent.
Oh, okay.
Which
okay, so so it does actually kind of follow with the arc of Red versus Blue then too.
Yes. There's a lot of happiness and silliness. Now, granted, later seasons definitely develop more of a emotional tie-in story, and just makes, I don't know, there's some moments that I will forever be just angry as all get out at the writers, and I'm trying to remember the guys' names. I think it's Harry and who's the other one? He was also in a lot of the Rooster Teeth stuff. Anyway, the writers did a great job. I'm still not going to forgive them for killing off one of my favorite characters of all time in that show. And poor John is now left alone. But
well, and there was also, of course, the fact that it was a Monty Oum.
I was about to say, was Monty involved in that one?
Monty created the engine, didn't he?
He was actually the entire brainchild behind the entire thing. Mm-hmm. If it wasn't for Monty, that entire series would not exist.
Okay.
So that being said, he basically, outside of writing some of the deeper stuff and whatnot, he was the one that basically looked at Rooster Teeth and said, "We are more than just Red versus Blue, and I want to show you that we are."
Yep. And it was him and Carrie and Miles. Thank you, Black Flag, for the writers' names.
Monty was insanely talented.
And he was crazy good worker.
Guy
put in so many stinking hours.
Yeah. If you guys do not know the sad fate of Monty Oum, I will definitely tell you to look into it a little bit more. Only because he means, I think, a lot to the industry. Both as an independent artist and as well as somebody with just fantastic work ethic and somebody that you can kind of show to see what you can push for, and that if you've got a creative team behind you and they've got a fair similar interest, you can do a lot of stuff. So definitely a good guy.
It's super, super great. I love that show. I am sad to say that I have been neglectful of keeping up with this last season, but life has been busy.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I feel like Ruby also sort of took the Rurouni Kenshin approach in a way.
Yeah, somewhat.
Because the first season for Kenshin was very lighthearted, very light mannered.
Yeah, and then they sucker punched you when you weren't expecting it.
The second season, you were just like, well, I can expect a lot of the. Nope, what is this? And then the third season was very much the same.
It was like,
and then when they,
what was great about the way that Rooster Teeth continued on with Ruby, though, in the off season, is they did Ruby Chibi.
Yeah.
Which was adorable and hilarious. And I think Nora with all the pancakes is the best gag I have seen in a long time, because she will steal your pancakes, and you don't want Thor to be angry at you and smash you, but that's what she will do if you take her pancakes.
I have no idea what she's talking about, but it sounds
It's
funny.
okay. It's adorable. It's just cute. Ruby got dark. Ruby Chibi kept it light. Anyway, number ones, Beard.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with this show.
I was wondering.
Taking that left is the Albuquerque.
Bugs Bunny.
Yeah, Bugs Bunny. I don't know of any other like more iconic character that you could really say for a good majority of like how cartoon animation has gone, as well as also like how like slapstick and so on was kind of formed, etc. But Bugs has got to go in a top 3 somewhere, if not for his like influential status, then just for being an entertaining character. I grew up on Looney Tunes, and between like Elmer Fudd, be quiet, I'm hunting rabbits. Or, you've got freaking Daffy Duck, who's just over there like, suffering fuckatash! You've got all these wonderful characters that Looney Tunes kind of brought to the forefront of everything. But Bugs is just like tops in that regard. One, because he kind of like led the show. One show though that I don't, or one episode that I don't think I'm ever going to forget is the opera one.
Oh yeah,
I think that's Green. Yes. One of Green's favorites.
Yes.
Spirit Magic Helmet.
That one, and God, just okay. For one, it's like the weirdest introduction for a child to see a man accidentally get dressed up, or Bugs, who is also male, get dressed up in the female role, and it's like, right. Okay, granted, that is a very common practice in old opera and old acting, old Shakespearean style.
Well, that's technically how it all had to go.
Shakespeare was,
But it's, I don't know, it's just those Looney Tunes cartoons that not only were just hilarious and fun to watch, also taught a lot of classical music and taught a lot of just classical concepts.
Right.
We've talked about that.
Penn's points out the other one I was going to mention, which is The Barber of Seville. Between those two episodes, like as a whole, I think that it almost like incredibly so. If you haven't sat to watch either of those, you're doing yourself an incredible disservice as a human being. I think that those are some of the best cartoon writing that's out there, is like showcasing how classic cartoons really went. Even just like carrying up from how they were originally in like the single panels and everything in the comic strips and newspapers, etc. Seeing that translate over to how it is within Looney Tunes or otherwise, just perfect. Just perfect.
Yes.
You're getting called out in chat.
A little bit. Daffy Duck. Sylvester the Cat.
Yeah, it was. I realized it after I went ahead and said it, but I was like, I'm just going to run with it.
I'm just going to go with it and... Duck season. Wabbit season. Duck season.
I seem to recall that Daffy said it a couple times because Sylvester and Daffy had a couple of things, and I feel like they flipped roles at a couple of times. But yeah, they were I don't know. They all kind of went into their own rights in some
Right.
regard. I could.
Well,
be
and there's
wrong.
also a degree that they do all kind of blend together.
They
well.
really do. Like I think most of them were done by like a couple of voice actors to begin with, so they all really kind of like ran with each other. But yeah, I know that I'll fix myself here.
You're despicable.
There you go. There's Sylvester.
Well, there's Daffy.
What was that?
Yeah.
Oh, that was
That's
Daffy.
Daffy,
Okay.
yeah.
I am so. Gosh,
See,
Yeah.
even Green did it. You know,
Yep.
you know, there.
It
There.
happens. It happens.
Shut up, chat. Shut up. I'm fine. Everybody else is confused about all of this. I'm fine.
Oh goodness.
Anyway,
Blue, number one.
My number one is actually, so as much as I made fun of the X-Men animated series, it's Gambit from the animated series.
I love Gambit.
Because I remember as a kid, I remember very strongly Gambit's character because it was one of the first times that you saw a kind of like an anti-hero almost with his particular portrayal because
Monterey.
and then there was also like it was also like the redemption, right? Like he was basically my Deadpool before Deadpool.
yeah.
If that I don't know if that makes sense to anybody, but
No,
like
makes total sense, actually.
it was like he was the one that he broke the rules, but he was not a bad guy, like I guess is the best way to do it. And it makes me sad though too, on the same note, because they've never really ever managed to capture his character. I think like sufficiently since the animated series. They did in the atrocious X-Men movie where they also completely screwed up Deadpool. There was the character that they portrayed as Gambit was not horrible, but like
He just wasn't that lovable scoundrel.
right,
that
like he
Gambit
didn't
really
have
was.
like he didn't have the lovableness that the animated series just really they just nailed it with his character.
Mhm.
right.
But
Yeah. Plus
But
the Gambit rogue romance.
Gambit rogue romance was always kind of interesting, and like especially and that was more because of Rogue's
ability.
curse ability, whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
That was always like an interesting component. But yeah, I mean, like the X-Men animated series was just like it was good on so many fronts. I'm never going to go back and watch it because I don't want to ruin it for myself. But
Mhm. Isn't it funny how so many of our cartoons and childhood memories are things that if you go back and watch it,
No,
we were talking about that last week.
yeah, I was about to say we talked about this last week. I was like, no.
You can't go back and watch it because you're going to be really sorely disappointed.
Honestly, the only one that I think I know we've already kind of like brought it up and everything, but like Batman, the animated series, I can go back and watch that fine.
That's true.
But I get into this like really relaxed like feeling watching it because it is such a comfort zone for me that I end up falling asleep to it so often. It's not because I'm not entertained. I mean, it's still a very good show, but it's just the fact that I know it so well. And besides that, like, it's just like, wow, this is childhood for me, and I feel like super comfy right now. This is great. But I really do think that that's like one of the only shows I can go back and like without a shred of doubt say that it was great then and it's still great now.
My number one is going to be also one of those that I don't think I can go back and watch. And I actually know for a fact I cannot go back and watch a lot of them. Donatello from Ninja Turtles.
Yes. Man,
That
what
is a
is
show
it?
you
What is it
cannot
with
go
you
back
and that archetype of character?
I've always loved that archetype. Billy from Power Rangers, Donatello from Ninja Turtles.
My wife is calling you out as a liar on that. She's like, no one likes Billy.
No, I seriously. Wow. I had a Billy. I finally got the last Laura card. Yay! I'm done with Tingle Shore. Sorry, Billy. I had a bike that was covered in Billy stickers. I was a Billy fan.
I'm gonna play that clip for her.
Yeah.
I told her about that for I think it was last week that we had that conversation.
Yeah,
and she's
we
like,
did.
no one liked Billy. It's like, Says the person
Wow.
who was obsessed with Kimberly.
Right. I couldn't stand Kimberly, to be honest. She was not my favorite.
Did you happen to like Trini at all? Now,
No,
I'm
I
kinda
actually really
curious. Okay.
disliked both of the female characters in Power Ranger.
I don't honestly
I didn't
think
hate
that they
them. I
had-
just didn't like them.
Well, like here's the problem: when you got somebody like oh my god, freaking John. Wow, I'm just having a
Color?
freaking
Give me a
mind
color.
blank here. Green.
The Tommy.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Tommy. It's Jason Oliver.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, it's oh yeah, no. Now you've infected me.
Yeah, I'm gonna say apparently my dementia's spreading. But yeah, just like when you have a character like that that's on screen,
Jason David Frank.
Jason David Frank. Thank you. I wanted to say Frank, but then I started thinking, no.
I wanted to say I wanted to
I'm
say
thinking, like-
Jason, and I was like, no, that's the name of the Red Ranger.
Right.
Well,
Jason was.
I was thinking more Jonathan Frakes from
Ah.
freaking Star
Oh,
Trek.
yeah.
So that was my immediate thought, which was wrong. But yeah, he's like the greatest Power Ranger ever. Like
He
you can't argue
skydives
this
in
fact.
like he like
This is like
snowboard
the conversation
skydives.
we had last week.
Well, like all right,
I watched that opening scene so many times as a child just because
So-
it was so cool.
Well, the new Power Rangers that came out, the new game, I should say, Battle for the Grid, I think it's called, was largely at hand because of the mobile game that's out there. But there was a partial hand in Jason actually like going to, I think it's Capcom, who said,
Mhm.
"Hey,
Mhm.
like maybe we should work on something for this." But like, long story short, everything that Jason does, even like outside of everything, like if you follow him on social media, you talk to him on in interviews or anything, like he embodies exactly what a Power Ranger is
Mhm.
all about. He is all about that entire like general philosophy and mentality. I cannot get over how that guy continues to like play the role of Green Ranger or White Ranger without
Mhm.
actually being in the role at this point.
Yeah, he's like that when it comes
lives
to
and
conventions.
breathes- Yeah, he lives and breathes having White Tiger Zord and the Green T-Rex.
The
That's
Godzilla.
exactly what he. Yeah, like that's exactly what he's all about. On like he is the best Power Ranger hands down, and nobody is going to be able to tell me otherwise.
Yeah. What was the name? Okay, so we've named almost all of them at this point, except for the Black Ranger. Because Jason
Yeah.
was red.
We had this conversation last time.
Did we?
Yes, it's Jason,
Who
Billy,
was the
Jason,
Black
Billy,
Ranger?
Kimberly, Trini.
Yeah. who's-
I always want to say his name is Alex, but I could be wrong.
No, I don't think it. Oh gosh, now I feel so bad looking it up. Trini, Billy, Zach. Zach was the
Zach.
Black Ranger.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you,
don't
Black Flag.
I don't
He
know
was
why I
the
always wanna call
Mastodon,
him-
right?
Yeah.
He was Mastodon. Yep.
Triceratops. You tell your wife that there was a Billy fan out there.
I just love that her immediate reaction was like, "Nap." I was like, "Okay, all right, well."
It was, yeah. I just like the nerdy guys. I always have. I don't know why.
Success.
Anyway, yeah, you guys, yes, puff chest out a little bit. No,
So yeah,
it-
now that we went like completely off topic from cartoon characters,
right? But I mean, that's the fun thing about this is that you get to know not just like our favorites or whatever. You get to know a little bit of our own stories and some of our loves that are beyond maybe just the topic. But
well, speaking of the new
Mhm.
Ultraman that's on Netflix is actually pretty good
Is
too.
it pretty
Is
good?
it?
I've been
so
meaning
I
to
would-
sit down and watch it.
Especially if you like enjoyed Ultraman back in the day, I think that you will kind of get a kick out of it. Like you think it's going in the direction of like he's going to be a troubled kid and whatnot, and then it's just like, nope, never mind, this is fine. So it's definitely I think the first few episodes I've watched so far I've rather enjoyed.
I agree.
Come here.
What?
Come here. Someone wants to weigh in on this conversation.
Oh no, no,
Oh, no.
Anna.
Oh no!
This is supposed to be a Destiny podcast,
No, this is top
This
three.
is top three.
This is
Like
top
top three.
three.
but it's
Yeah.
What time is it?
I don't know. We're talking about Power Rangers.
Isn't it like 11 something?
So Green would like to know.
Shh. No, I'd like for her to know.
Oh, Green would like you to know that she does like the Ranger.
Nobody likes them, Jordan.
I do. I had a whole like. I knew all the things about him.
Okay,
He
some
was
of us
my
felt
favorite.
bad for Billy, and some of us
No.
would have been his friend because I
God,
mean he had a good heart and stuff.
such a
Nobody
typical
liked
Kimberly
him.
fan. Such
Wow.
a typical
What'd
you
Kimberly
say?
fan.
Give me those. What'd you say?
I said such a typical Kimberly fan to dog on Billy.
Do you know what? Billy started it being such a goober.
Billy was adorable.
He wore like overalls and
He
I
was
don't know.
good at fixing things. I grew up on a farm.
you know what? He was good at fixing things. That's a
Yeah, like fixing everybody else's life.
Right?
he was the only one who stuck around because wasn't there like a whole season where he was like the only one there, kind of like a weirdo
Yep.
with a bunch of
Well,
children?
I think it was
Yeah.
5 or season 5 or season 6 that he finally ended up leaving. And the only other one that could come close to that, I think, was like one season before with Tommy. Like he was the only other one that stuck it out just about as long. But Billy wanted to be on there for like a long, long time.
Yeah, does that surprise you about Billy? He had nowhere else to go. Everyone else moved on.
Billy could have came and stayed with me. It was fun.
Look, man, somebody has to fix the planet when nobody else wants to
Right?
listen, okay?
Right?
I feel like that the actor who played Tommy is like the real life Billy because he never moved on from Power Rangers like ever. I just told you. He's still
yeah,
the
we
Green
were
Ranger
talking about this.
forever.
He never did, but you know what? To his credit, he's making it work.
Yeah.
I mean,
He
I
is
don't mind
very
it.
successful besides.
Oh,
Actually, I'm interested because, not to carry this off topic anymore, what I'm actually interested to see, Jason had actually written a screenplay for something that was supposed to be a darker version of Power Rangers. I forget who he sent the pilot to, but it was somebody fairly important. They basically said no way, and Netflix apparently just recently got a chance to look at it. So I'm wondering, considering their track
recent
record, if they
development?
won't.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, fairly recent development. I think it was like within the last year. But if they pick something up from him and it turns into like a darker Power Rangers or something similar, I'd be very interested to see where
that
that
would
would
be
go.
really cool.
I would
Yeah.
watch a dark Billy, dark navy blue Billy. I'd be into that.
Now you like him.
Now you would,
Now
yeah.
you
All
would.
the-
Give him a
You
little
just want a
angst
bad
and
boy.
like now I'm
you just want a
sold.
bad boy. God.
Give him a little angst. He still fixes things, but he's angsty about it.
Right.
It
Oh
makes
my
it all more
goodness.
interesting. They
Oh
were all
my
weird. I
goodness.
tried to watch the first season with Matthew, and because I remember loving it as a kid,
Mm-hmm.
and it is painful to watch.
Utter trash.
It's just
Oh.
the worst. Oh my god! And the two dumb bullies or whatever. Oh my god! I remember thinking they were funny. I don't know why I ever thought they were funny.
Mm-hmm.
All of it.
Oh, Bulk and Skull?
They're
Bulk and Skull
them.
actually were on longer than Billy was. Now that you say that.
I come down here. You've been doing top three for an hour.
It's
and-
okay. It's okay, Anna. This one I can wrap up.
All right, I'm gonna give you your ears back. I'm going to bed.
Bulk
I'm
and Skull
done.
are
Good
still
night.
on Power
Yeah,
Rangers.
you guys are awesome. Go talk about
Oh.
Destiny.
Oh my goodness. Oh, how did we do that? 2 weeks in a row we talked about Power Rangers.
Talk about childhood.
Man, talk
and
about
things-
Green's
things being
guilty
influential.
pleasure.
I mean, I guess that's going to be on my list next week.
I guess so.
I mean, God, and it's yeah. Anyway, next week is guilty pleasures. Remember, we're going to go PG as much as possible. And for all those of you listening, thank you for listening and sending in your suggestions. Those are always helpful and fun to read and see. Why don't you guys drop me a message or drop the Focus Fire Chat Twitter a message of your top 3 cartoon characters this time? it's always kind of fun to see what everyone else thinks. I know we went through a lot of our favorites as well as kind of just everybody's favorite childhood memories again. But let us know what you think, because, everybody loves a list.
Bleep, 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 bleep. That's all, folks.